The Zoological Garden Alipore, or the Alipore Zoo, is India's oldest formally stated zoological park and a biggest tourist attraction in Kolkata, West Bengal. It has been open as a zoo since 1876 and covers 46.48 acres in total area as a campus. It is the best known as the home of the Aldabra giant tortoise Advaita, who was reputed to have been over 250 years old when he died in 206. An outstanding collection of animals, the Alipore Zoological Garden is a jewel in the crown of Indian Zoological Garden. It is also home to one of the few captive breeding projects, including Manipuri brow-antlered deer. One of the most popular tourist attractions in Kolkata, it drags huge crowds during winter season, especially during December and January. The highest attendance till date has been reported for January 1st, 2018, with over 11 lakh visitors.
এই বাবা কি কথা বলছে নাকি?
The zoo has its roots in a private menagerie established by the Governor General of India, Richard Wellesley, established around 1800 in his summer home at Barakpur near Kolkata, as a part of the Indian Natural History Project. The first superintendent of the menagerie was the famous Scottish physician zoologist Francis Buchanan Hamilton, who returned to England with Wellesley in 1805 following the Governor General's recall by the Court of Directors in London. The collection from this era are documented by watercolors by Charles de Olly and a visit by the famous French botanist Victor Jacquemot. Sir Stamford Raffles visited the menagerie in 1810, encountering his first tapir there, and doubtless used some aspects of the menagerie as an inspiration for the London Zoo. The menagerie was photographed by John Edward Sasse in 1860s. The foundation of zoos in major cities around the world caused a growing thought among British community in Kolkata that the menagerie should be upgraded to a formal zoological garden. In 1873, Lieutenant Governor Sir Richard Temple formally proposed the formation of the zoo in Kolkata, and the government finally allotted a land for the zoo based on the joint petition of the Asiatic Society and the Agri-Horticultural Society. The zoo was formally opened in Alipore, a posh Kolkata suburb, and inaugurated on 1st of January 1876 by Edward VII, the Prince of Wales. The initial stock consisted of the private menagerie of Carl Louis Swindler, a German electrician who was posted in India for a feasibility study of electricity lighting Indian railway stations. Gifts were also accepted from general public. The initial collection consisted of African buffalo, Zanzibar ram, domestic sheep, four-horned sheep, hybrid Kashmiri goat, Indian antelope, Indian gazelle, sambar deer, spotted deer, and hog deer. The zoo grew based on gifts from the British and Indian nobility like Raja Shurjakanta Acharya of Maman Singh, in whose honor the open-air tiger enclosure is named as the Maman Singh enclosure. Other contributors who donated part of all their private menagerie to the Alipore Zoo included the Maharaja of Mysore, Krishna Raja Wadiar IV. The park was initially run by honorary managing committee, which included Swindler and the famous botanist George King. The first Indian superintendent of the zoo was Ram Brahma Sanyal, who did much to improve the standing of the Alipore Zoo and achieved great heights in captive breeding success in an era when such initiatives were rarely heard of. One such success story of the zoo was a live birth of the Sumatran rhinoceros in 1889. The next pregnancy of captivity occurred at the Cincinnati Zoo in 1997 but ended with miscarriage. The zoo remains one of the most popular winter attractions in Kolkata. The zoo displays a large number of crowd-pleasing megafauna including Royal Bengal tiger, Asiatic lion, jaguar, hippopotamus, greater one-horned rhinoceros, giraffe, zebra, Indian elephant. Previously, other megafauna like the Panthera hybrids and the giant eland was also present. During the COVID-19 pandemic, the zoo remained streamed virtual tour on Facebook. The zoo has chosen to upgrade customary checking of large felines and exacting execution of security standard after a tiger tested positive for COVID-19 at a zoological garden in New York. The zoo sports a collection of attractive birds, including some threatened species like large parrots, including number of parrots, lories, lorikeets, cockatoos, hornbills, macaws, colorful game birds like pheasants, and some large flightless birds like the emu and the ostrich. The zoo is laid out on 45 to 46 acres of land, and its layout has been there for about 50 years. It contains reptile house, a primate house, the elephant house, and a panther house, which opens out into the open air enclosure for the lions and tigers. It also boasts of a glass-walled enclosure for tiger, the first of its kind in India. A separate children's zoo is present, and the central border bodies inside the zoo gardens attract several migratory birds. The Calcutta Aquarium lies across the street from the zoo and is affiliated to the Alipore Zoo. The most famous specimen in the zoo for display has been Aldabra, the giant tortoise Advaita, gifted when it died in 206, a contender for the longest living animal. One of the greatest achievements of the zoo in present day world is not just simple conservation, it's still simple display of wild animals. Initially, the traditional zoos focused predominantly on the display of animals for the purpose of educating the public about animals found across the continents, particularly animal species or wildlife that are not found in on a particular country or in a particular continent and is exchanged or collected or traffic from other countries for display in a particular zoo. All major zoos around the world has been following this format. However, this has made significant changes in the present scenario. It is important now that zoos play a significant role in case of conservation of biodiversity. Like brow-antlered deer in Manipur, which is threatened in its natural habitat, has been raised, and their breeding program has been successfully conducted in the Alipore Zoo, with multiple number of species being added to the population when the population is threatened in their original habitat. Similarly, the Calcutta Zoo or the Alipore Zoo has been extremely successful in the breeding of giraffes and zebras and emus from outside the continent. However, it has also done significant work towards the breeding of the felines, as has been mentioned before. And at one time, it had a large number of hybrid felines like the tigers and litigans. Since these are not true species and has been banned from reproduction from producing such species officially across the zoos around the world, such feline hybrid production program has been completely stopped. One of the feline, the litigan from Kolkata, was recorded to be the largest known feline species, hybrid feline species from the natural world ever produced. Among other hybrids that has been a contingent of controversy in the Kolkata Zoo is the hybrid between Asiatic and African zoo. Most of these breeding has now been completely stopped, and the focus has been not only to educate public through awareness, but also to establish a zoo hospital where treatment, surgery, and other medical practices on wildlife, both from the zoo and even other wildlife collected from the other parts of the state or in and around Kolkata, is directed to for treatment, and a specialty hospital has been designed particularly for the wildlife. This has been a significant achievement considering what little conservation efforts do we see in a populous country like India, where the habitats of wildlife has been shrinking drastically. One other important aspect of the zoo has been not only biodiversity conservation but captive breeding. The captive breeding of several wildlife which are endangered in their natural habitats are being conducted in the zoo, and then they are being reintroduced into their natural habitat. So captive breeding and reintroduction has been a successful program that the zoo has followed. However, this is still very limited, and more such programs needs to be incorporated in the zoo. Extensive animal behavior research is still lacking based on the animal species available on the Kolkata Zoo, such as particularly on the primates like gibbons, like and chimpanzees that are available in the zoo, also on the species of primates from Madagascar, the ring-tailed lemur that is present. Such animals needs to be given extensive studies to understand their behavior, which is still lacking. The zoo does not have memorandum of understanding with several universities and the zoological and forestry department, so that they can run comprehensive program for training students in various aspects of zoonosis, zoo medical history, zoo medicine, zoo-based surgery of wildlife, as well as biodiversity conservation studies, and even how to maintain wildlife in closed enclosure for a long time without causing harm to them. All such initiatives needs to be a part, as has been happening in other zoos in developed world. Alipore is still behind that, like any other zoos in India, but we need to catch up and consider these zoos into an outstanding institutes of breeding as well as for conservation of endangered species. Shoykot Kumar Basu, Kalinga Chronicle TV, Kolkata Bureau.